lifeguarding?
I got my first lifeguarding job when I was 16, but I did my lifeguard training. I started when I was 15, but we weren't allowed to be lifeguards until we turned 16.
Why did you want to be a lifeguard?
I spent all my summers with my friends at the neighborhood pool, and we thought the lifeguards were pretty cool because they were fun and would play with us and kind of mess around with us a lot. And so we just thought it was looked like a really cool job, and as far as having a job goes, it was one where we sat on the side of the pool in the sun all day long and got paid. We're on the swim team, so we were big swimmers, so being a lifeguard just seemed to fit in line with swimming and spending our summers at the pool. Plus, we could look at girls.
What was the training required to be a lifeguard?
Lifeguard training involved lifeguard, first aid, and CPR. So all three of those things were part of the overall lifeguard training. So part of the training to be a lifeguard, we had to learn how to put people on a backboard, like in case somebody dove in and hit the bottom of the pool and broke their neck. So we had to learn how to put their arms up behind their ears and then put them on a backboard while we're in the water. And we had to go to a pool that had a very deep end where we couldn't touch to do a lot of our training. Because even though the pool that I worked at, most of it was shallow, all of our training was done in a deep pool. So we had to learn how to dive in and grab somebody and put them on a board without touching the bottom and keeping their head stiff and strapping them in. We also had to learn how to swim up to somebody and then swim underneath them and come up behind them, because one of the things they talked about was whenever you want to rescue somebody or when somebody's in need of being rescued, you don't want to create a situation where now two people need to be rescued. So a lot of times a person drowning would try and grab onto you, and so they taught us to swim underneath them and come out behind them and then grab them from behind so that we could carry them back without them climbing on us and drowning us. And the hardest part of the training is we had a 10-pound brick that we had to hold up above the water and tread water with just our feet for a full minute. And that was the only part of the training that I had to do 3 or 4 times before I finally passed it, because it's very hard to hold 10 pounds above the water without using your arms to swim. And then we did first aid and CPR, and that was it. We just pretty much had to know how to swim and get somebody out of the water without drowning.
Did you enjoy doing it?
Yeah, lifeguarding was one of my favorite jobs. I did it from when I was 16 till about 21 or maybe 22. I lifeguarded at our neighborhood pool during the summers when I was in high school. And then when school was started, I lifeguarded at my neighborhood pool that was open year-round. And it was fun because, for the most part, you just sit at the side of the pool and watch people swim. But I had all my friends were lifeguards too, so we screwed around a lot. Our neighborhood pool in the summer, they had a candy machine where we could stick our arm up there and steal candy, and so we'd get free candy all the time and nobody would say anything. And we'd make the kids do a lot of, if a kid was being rowdy or splashing people, we'd make them sit, what we call sit on the bench. There was a bench along the pool and you had to sit there, and if it was really hot, we would spray them with the hose and they couldn't get off until we let them sit there for 10 minutes, or we'd make them crab walk around the pool, and we'd lifeguard pool parties, and so that was fun. So yeah, it was good.
Did you ever save anyone's life or do CPR?
No, not while I was a lifeguard. My philosophy was a good lifeguard never saves anybody, because a good lifeguard will see something happen before it happens. So I never had to save anybody from drowning. I never had to give CPR. But one time, during the period where I was lifeguarding, but it wasn't as a lifeguard. There was a car accident by my house, and there was an old guy in one of the cars, and he was sitting in the back of the police officer's car when I was walking down the sidewalk, and I noticed the police officer start trying to take him out of the car, and it looked like he was having a heart attack or something. And so the police officer pulled him out, and I was looking at him, and I thought, the police officer didn't know what was wrong with him, but because I was trained, I realized that this guy needs CPR because he wasn't breathing. So, and then people started showing up, so I didn't have to give the CPR, but I directed the police officer and another lady on how to give CPR to the guy, because the police officer seemed to be kind of frazzled, like he didn't know what to do. I always assumed police would be CPR trained, or maybe he was just in a panic or whatever. But so I directed them how to give CPR. But other than that, no, I put Band-Aids on kids, and that was about the extent of my first aid.
What is the weirdest or funniest thing that has happened to you while being a lifeguard?
I think the weirdest thing, well, there was a lot of like funny things just because we screwed around a lot. But the weirdest thing that happened was when I was lifeguarding at the city pool. It was a really big building, like it was like one story, but it was like as big as like 2 or 3 stories. And back where the pump room was, there was a ladder that you go up to the roof. And I used to, in the mornings in the fall, I would climb up there because I'd have to lifeguard at like 5:30 in the morning. And I'd climb up there and watch the sunrise sometimes because it was really, really cool because you could see out over the city because it was such a tall building. But this one of the lifeguards one time, like this older guy, was up on the roof sweeping the roof off. And the roof didn't really have any like deep railings around it. It was kind of just a flat roof. And he was sweeping and he's walking backwards and he stepped off the top and fell all the way to the ground, and he hit the ground so hard and he hit, and then his knees buckled and his butt hit the ground, and so he like hurt his back like really bad. Like he didn't die or get paralyzed, but he did kind of break his back. But the weirdest part about that was we went out to where it was, and you could see his butt mark in the dirt where his butt hit, like he had hit so hard. Because it was like, I mean, it's like as tall as a house, like the top, falling off the very top of your house, he just fell back. And so there was 2 holes where his feet went, and then like 1 hole where his butt. And I thought that was weird, because you'd have to hit the ground pretty hard to leave a butt print in the dirt. But that was the weirdest thing. But there were a lot of funny things. Oh, another funny thing was, though, at that same pool, my manager had some pepper spray in her purse. And I didn't know what pepper spray was at the time. So me and my friends were screwing around, and the office was kind of this enclosed glass area, and I accidentally sprayed her pepper spray in the enclosed glass area, and all of our eyes were burning and watering, and she got really mad. That was the funniest part.
Why did you stop being a lifeguard?
I stopped being a lifeguard. I just kind of got tired of it, I guess. After I was, I think, 22, I went to go live in Hawaii for 4 months, and my kind of plan at the time was to be a lifeguard in Hawaii, because I thought, oh, how cool would that be to be a lifeguard in the oceans of Hawaii, right? But when I got there and realized that, you know, the lifeguards were all locals who grew up on the beach and were these big buff guys with surfboards, and they had to go out, be able to swim out there in these giant 20-foot waves and rescue somebody, and that was way different than pulling a little 3-year-old out of the shallow end of a swimming pool. So I didn't think I was prepared for that. And then when I moved back, I just was kind of tired of being a lifeguard and wanted to do something different, so I delivered pizza instead, which was also a good job because we got free pizza.
What was your favorite part of being a lifeguard?
My favorite part was definitely just that it was very laid back and that I worked with all my friends. Like either half of my friends were lifeguards with me, or they would come and swim at the pool. So, especially when I was in high school in the summer times, I got to spend all the days that I worked hanging out with my friends at the pool, which is what I would have done if I wasn't a lifeguard. So, and we did a lot of fun stuff, a lot of screwing around. But it was just a nice way to make money doing something easy while hanging out with your friends. And it was in the sun, so we got suntanned. And
what was your least favorite part about being a lifeguard?
My least favorite part was when nobody showed up. Like if it was a cloudy day or a rainy day and nobody would show up, but the pool was still open, so we would sit in our little office while it was cold and rainy outside all day with nothing to do because nobody came to the pool. So that was the worst. Or when somebody pooped in the pool. That was also bad because then we'd have to scoop it out and then super chlorinate. So, but rainy days happen more than poopy days. So definitely rainy days was my least favorite part.
How many guards had to watch the pool at the same time? Did you like the other lifeguards?
Yes, I liked the lifeguards. I don't think I ever worked with a lifeguard I didn't like, even the ones that weren't my close friends. But we always had 3 lifeguards on rotation. So you'd have one that sat in the deep end, one that sat on the shallow end, and the one that was in the office. And then every 20 minutes we would rotate. So the shallow end would go to the deep end would go to the office, and the office would go to the shallow end. So every 20 minutes we would do that. So being in the office was kind of like being on break. So we get a break every 40 minutes for 20 minutes. But yeah,